Previously on Growing with Bonsai.
I promise to show you this Kusamono again as it changes and grows, because I know people are always dubious about the fate of plants on rocks. But regardless of how it might change in the future, this will always be a memory for me of a moment, a summer afternoon, in the stream by my home. They're messing with my stream. Basically, it says they're going to restore the ecology of the river and do some flood prevention work. It's going to take a really long time. The first sign that they were doing something a bit weird was when they came along here and they tore down all these old shacks that are alongside the river. And I wasn't really a big fan of that. Korea's only really developed over the last 60 years or so. And because of that, they tend to not have a lot of respect for the sort of colorful, characterful stuff of the early to mid 20th century. They tend to just tear all that stuff down, which I think is a shame. Then I realized it gave me a much better view of my recording studio back there. So then I was okay with it. Perhaps the improvements to the stream ecosystem have begun because a turtle moved in for a week, and each afternoon I saw it sunning itself on this spillway. I'd never seen a turtle in Korea before. They're not that common. I wanted to get some better video of it, but it moved on. Godspeed in your journey, turtle. The next thing that happened was the archaeological department of the local university around here came and dug up the parking lot in front of my recording studio. And I guess they didn't find anything much because then they just planted it with rice. I guess historically it was just a rice field. And yes, although it is completely unsound, I do think of it as my stream, my park, my recording studio / ancient town gate. I can't really justify that except that I'm the only foreigner, or at least the only white foreigner within about a 2-kilometer radius. So it must be the spirit of my white ancestors. We come to a place, and if we're the only white person there, we just think it's ours. Nobody ever comes here except for me, and visually it looks really cool, so yeah, I've decided to make this my recording studio. So at this point you may be wondering what's happening with my stream Kusamono, and I wouldn't blame you with all the dead trees that have been on this channel recently. But actually it's doing okay. Which is not to say its journey has been completely without problems. The wildflowers that I planted in it died out almost immediately. The Asiatic jasmine held on for a long time, but eventually it too died out. And of course there was the winter vacation when my landlord failed to water any of my plants. But with the coming of spring, the wild strawberries reappeared. And I think today the Kusamono is actually looking pretty nice. With the coming of some cooler weather, I decided to take a hike to the source of my stream. It's the same 3-kilometer stretch that they're improving. I wanted to see if they'd made any changes yet, and see it as it is now before it changes, and maybe get some inspiration for my stream Kusamono. According to the plans, this part of the stream will look very different when they're finished. I look forward to seeing it beautified with model families and tourists promenading alongside it, but personally I like it as it is now. A little bit of guerrilla gardening going on besides this stream. A pretty little ecosystem right here. It's actually a natural clump-style Japanese maple. How cool. And here it is, the source of my stream, or at least the reservoir for it. This viewing deck was the only new thing I saw, but I'm a fan. You know, sometimes I forget how much I like living in Korea. I get caught up in the routine of every day and the routine of work, and I forget to stop and look around. I'm really glad I came up here today. It's really pretty and peaceful. When I first made this Kusamono, I was disappointed in the lump and shape of the final result. The architecture of the stones was lost in the muck. I planned at that time to reduce the soil mass on my next styling, and after a year, the time has come. I want to remove most of this lower section, and also bring back this lump at the front to create a more interesting contour. The strawberries might not look too appetizing, but I'm happy the plant has managed to produce some. Before the soil work, I need to give it a clean up. I don't need these long tendrils crawling all over the place. I've been fertilizing it a lot recently to encourage the plants to make more strawberries. Because of the shape of the Kusamono, it's hard not to fertilize the foliage as well, so some of the leaves are discolored. I remove these, along with any other dead shoots, and the remnants of the other things I originally planted in this composition. I also clean any other surface debris. Now it's time to reshape the soil line. When I first made it, the major concern was to keep it from falling apart. But with the plant's roots well established, this is less of a concern now, so I can be free in my reshaping. Actually, at this point, keeping the soil in place is a lot easier than removing it. Have I gone far enough? I decide it still doesn't have the three-dimensional geometry I'm looking for. It still needs a bit more soil carving. Having done the work, I now feel like the reverse side is much more interesting, so I decide to make this the new front. It needs a trim to bring out the rock line a little more. With the roots and moss spores already in the soil, it probably doesn't need more moss to support the structure, but I add a little back anyway to help prevent erosion until the roots are re-established. A final trim and cleanup completes the work. It was my birthday recently. Each year the number becomes more incomprehensible and farther from how I see myself. My stream has changed in the past year, as has my Kusamono, and I've changed too, though not always towards the destination I would choose. I wonder if I'll still be here when they finally finish the stream renovation. I wonder if my Kusamono will be. The future is, of course, unknowable, but the certainty of change is something we can rely on. From this central moment we move inexorably in an unknowable direction, and although uncertain of our particular trajectory, we can at least be confident in the inevitability of movement.